Welcome to Open Palm Hand Drawing. Let's get started. This is what a final drawing will look similar to. You can see there's little details. There's also organic shaping. Organic means natural as opposed to geometric, something with sharp edges, right? So how do we get started? We're going to start with some white paper and a pencil. If it's the back of a handout or in your sketchbook, that's perfectly fine. I also, reference-wise, you can go to your on Canvas into your workbook. If you go to page 5, you'll see all the steps that I'm going to show today. So here we go. The first thing is that this is observation drawing. So observation drawing means you look at the subject matter. This is subject matter. This is subject matter. It's the object you're looking at. So here's the subject, which is my hand. We're going to look at it half the time, and half the time we're drawing. That way we get all the details correct, or we try to. If we make mistakes, we just correct them. That's the way art is. Art is all about correcting mistakes. It's not like other subjects where you have to get it just right. So in this case, we're correcting mistakes as we go. It's just how art is. So let's look at this palm. Every hand is different. Mine's probably the most average shaped hand you've ever seen. If you look at it, it's like average length, average shape. Some people have strong looking hands like my husband, or some people have really nice narrow looking hands with long fingers. My aunt calls those piano hands, right? So let's look at your hand. You'll look at your hand, I'll look at my hand, and we draw from there. So here's my hand. Let's look at the palm. The palm here, to me, looks almost like a wide rectangle. Yours is maybe a circle, an oval, a square. You kind of go from there and you shape. So mine's a wide rectangle, so that's what I'm going to draw. Wide rectangle. Here we go. All right, so that looks about right. Sometimes I have to go and correct. See how I did a sketchy here? Because I realized when I put that line in, it was too short. So I added another line. That's how we correct as we go. Next, we're going to do the placement for the fingers with little dashes. So you can see this halfway mark, halfway between here, and put those dashes. You're also going to notice that the pinky probably drops down a little bit, so to figure that out, I angle from here to here, compare to here, and then I put a little line, and then correct my little sketchy. Alright, now we're ready for the length of the fingers. I'm going to use a C measurement. This is a C, it's a backward C. I'm going to measure from the tip of my middle finger to the base. I'm using my middle finger as a gauge mostly because it's the longer finger. And then I compare it to my palm. It's almost 6/7 of the way down. So that's about right there. Some of you might be shorter, some of you are longer. You kind of have to gauge from there and then compare it to your drawing. So now I can do a C measurement here, hold that C, and make a dash, right? Now I'm going to do the same to my other fingers. I'm going to go a little faster. I've been drawing my hands for years, so this doesn't take as long. But the other thing is, if you look at your pinky, sometimes people draw them too short. It's just that it's lower. Look, it's almost the same size as my ring finger. All right, so now that I have the other ones, do the same thing. All right, now I have the length, I can start shaping. I want to lightly sketch. See how I kind of go back and forth with my pencil? Why? Because I'm kind of correcting as I go. If you draw like a single contour line, well, you might make a mistake, and when you go to erase, the line is still there. So if you're sketchy at first, then you just erase, and it should not be there as much, right? So that makes it easier to correct. And now we go back to my middle finger, and I should still be looking at it. That would be the smart thing to do. All right. You can see that's probably too thin. I'll correct that later. This tucks in a little bit, so that's how I'm going to shape it. Oh, artist mistake. See, that went out too far. See, as I was drawing that, I realized I went too far. So that's what I mean. Art is about correcting mistakes as you go, and that's perfectly fine. All right, next, the thumb. If you look at the thumb, it's really big. If you see, measure that, it's almost the size of your palm. So I'm going to angle my thumb, compare it to my drawing, and then draw my line. How far do I draw? Well, let's look. So if I compare my thumb, it's almost under the palm line, so I'm going to bring that down. Some of you might be more hitchhiker-like or more rested. You need to look at it and figure it out. How far does this part go up? I'm going to C measure. Looks like about halfway. And then I'm going to shape this part. It curves and then kind of straightens out. You need to look at your thumb and figure out your shape. Okay, so at this point it looks kind of funny, but that's okay. We're at the geometric stage. Eventually we'll get here. All right. let's put in the arm so we don't have just a floating little hand right there. It helps to finish the drawing. Now we're ready for the single contour line part of it. We have our sketches, we're going to correct it. So I'm going to start with my pinky, I'm going to lightly erase. Okay, and I'm going to do a single contour line, and this is where observation is really important because I'm looking at that shape, and then as I go, I kind of keep shaping, and then it looks like it rounds out, kind of tops off right there, and then I'm going back around, but look, I went too far, right? Again, artists make mistakes. That's what we do. We kind of correct as we go. Maybe we're just problem solvers that way. All right, so now I have that part. I have a nail, so I'm going to put that in. Let's add my little details. That's kind of the nice part, is that this kind of adds the personality side of it. It's all those little lines, so you want to get those in. This part was angled incorrectly. All right, so I can keep going, but I think you get the idea that you need to go all the way around to correct the drawing. All right, so we get to this point. As a single contour line drawing, this one is good to go. You would take a picture, upload it into Canvas, and then when I look at it, I'm going to screencastify. That's like those gamer videos where you see the person in the corner commenting. So I'll look at the picture and I'll say, this part's really great. Hey, that part's a little sketchy. Can you go in and clean it up a little more? Or I might say, reshape this part so the thumb looks correct. That's what we call constructive criticism. It's different than negative criticism. Negative criticism would sound something like, wow, that is really bad, right? That's kind of mean, so therefore it's negative. Constructive, it's more technical. It kind of explains things that need to be corrected, right? It doesn't mean you did something wrong. Again, art is about making mistakes and correcting it. The good part of that is that you learn how to be open to coaching. It's an important job skill, and it will make better work. So when we move on to painting, you'll probably lightly erase this. Why? Because we don't want the clay and the graphite to mix with watercolor. That's right. In our pencil, that little top right there is made of clay and graphite. So if you've ever kind of just done the pencil and you put the watercolor over or marker over and it kind of streaks across and it looks kind of dirty, it's because of the clay and the graphite. So you want to lightly erase that, and then you can watercolor it. Okay? So good job on doing your hand. Practice it out. And then when you're done with that, you move on to the fist. Thank you. Have a nice day.